My name is Tyler, and I'm about to tell you the most disturbing night of my life. What happened when my best friend's mom showed up at my apartment drunk will haunt me forever. But I promise you, the truth is nothing like what you're thinking right now. My best friend Kevin and I had been inseparable since elementary school. We were brothers in everything but blood. His family had basically adopted me growing up. I spent more time at their house than my own. Kevin's mom, Mrs. Patricia Morrison, was like a second mother to me. She'd driven us to soccer practice, made us countless dinners, helped me with homework when my own parents were too busy working. Mrs. Morrison was the kind of woman everyone respected. She was a successful real estate agent, always put together, always professional. In all the years I'd known her, I'd never seen her have more than a single glass of wine at dinner. She was composed, dignified, the picture of suburban motherhood. That's why what happened that night was so shocking. I'd moved into my own apartment about 6 months earlier, right after graduating college. It wasn't much, a small one-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, but it was mine. Kevin had moved to Seattle for a job opportunity, so we didn't see each other as often, but we talked regularly. His parents still lived in our hometown, about 30 minutes from my new place. It was a Thursday night, around 11 p.m. I'd just gotten home from a late shift at the marketing firm where I worked. I was exhausted, still in my work clothes, debating whether I had the energy to make dinner or just order something. I kicked off my shoes and was loosening my tie when there was a knock at my door. Not a normal knock, a pounding. Aggressive and urgent. My first thought was that something was wrong, a neighbor with an emergency, maybe, or someone warning me about a fire or gas leak. I rushed to the door and looked through the peephole. What I saw made my blood run cold. Mrs. Morrison was standing in my hallway, swaying slightly. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled. Her makeup was smeared. And even through the peephole, I could tell something was very wrong. I opened the door immediately. Mrs. Morrison, what's wrong? Is Kevin okay? Is Mr. Morrison? She pushed past me into my apartment before I could finish. The smell of alcohol hit me like a physical force. She was absolutely drunk, more intoxicated than I'd ever seen any adult in my life. Tyler, she slurred, turning to face me. Her eyes were unfocused, rimmed with red. She'd been crying. Tyler, I need to talk to you. Okay, let's sit down. Can I call someone for you? Mr. Morrison, Kevin? I was already reaching for my phone, alarm bell screaming in my head. No. She grabbed my arm with surprising strength. No, you can't call them. You can't tell them I'm here. Promise me. This was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. Mrs. Morrison proper. Controlled. Mrs. Morrison was drunk in my apartment at 11 p.m., begging me not to call her family. Mrs. Morrison, you're scaring me. What's going on? She stumbled to my couch and collapsed onto it. Everything's falling apart, Tyler, everything, and I didn't know where else to go. I couldn't go home. I can't face David. I can't face Kevin, but you. You've always been like my son. You'll understand. My hands were shaking. Understand what? Please, you need to tell me what's happening. She started crying deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. I've ruined everything. 25 years of marriage, and I've ruined it all. My mind immediately went to the worst possible conclusion. An affair. Mrs. Morrison was having an affair. That's why she was here, drunk and desperate, unable to face her husband. I don't think I'm the right person for this conversation, I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. You should really talk to Mr. Morrison, or maybe a counselor. David knows, she interrupted. He found out today. That's why I can't go home. He told me to leave, to give him space. And I started driving, and I just ... I ended up here. This was getting worse by the second. Mrs. Morrison, I really think I lost it all, Tyler, all the money. Every penny we'd saved, gone. I stopped. What? The savings? The retirement fund. Kevin's trust fund that his grandmother left him. All of it gone. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. I gambled it away. Of all the things I'd expected her to say, that wasn't on the list. You gambled. Online poker. Started 2 years ago. Just a little bit for fun. Then I started winning. Made back what I'd spent and more. It felt like I was good at something that was just mine, you know? Not being Kevin's mom or David's wife or the perfect real estate agent. Just me being good at something. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup even more. But then I started losing. And I kept thinking if I just played one more hand, I could win it back. And then another. And another. I took money from our savings. Then from David's retirement fund. Then from Kevin's trust. I kept thinking I'd win it back before anyone noticed. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. Mrs. Morrison responsible. Trustworthy Mrs. Morrison had a gambling addiction. Had stolen from her own family. How much? I asked quietly. $370,000. Her voice was barely a whisper. Gone. All of it gone. I couldn't breathe. That was a life-changing amount of money. Kevin's entire future. Mr. Morrison's retirement. Their security. Everything David found out today when the bank called about our home equity line. I'd taken out a loan against the house without telling him, trying to win back enough to cover what I'd taken from the retirement account. The payment bounced. Everything came out. She looked up at me with such desperation in her eyes. He told me he doesn't know if he can ever forgive me. He told me to leave while he figures out what to do. And Kevin. God, Tyler, Kevin calls his trust fund his future startup fund. He's been planning to use it to start his own company. How do I tell him it's gone? How do I tell my son I stole his future? Mrs. Morrison, I came here because I thought maybe you could help me figure out what to say to him. You know Kevin better than anyone. You know how he thinks. How do I tell him I've destroyed everything? The rational part of my brain knew I should be calling someone Mr. Morrison, a crisis counselor, someone. But the part of me that had known this woman my entire life, that had considered her family, was breaking. You need help. I said finally. Professional help. This is an addiction. Mrs. Morrison, you need treatment. I know, she sobbed. I know, but first, I need to tell Kevin. And I don't know how. Will you be there when I do it? Will you help me? Mrs. Morrison, I don't think, please, Tyler, please, you're the only person who might be able to help him understand. Help him not hate me forever. I looked at this woman who had been like a mother to me, completely broken in my living room. And I realized I was in an impossible position. If I helped her, I was potentially betraying Kevin by not warning him first. If I refused, I was abandoning someone who'd been there for me my entire childhood. I need to call Kevin. I said firmly. Right now. You can tell him with me here if you want, but he needs to know tonight. She started to protest, but I held up my hand. No negotiation. Either we call him together right now, or I'm calling Mr. Morrison to come get you. Those are the only options. She stared at me for a long moment. Then slowly nodded. I picked up my phone with shaking hands and called Kevin. It rang 4 times before he picked up, his voice groggy with sleep. Tyler? Dude, it's almost midnight there. What's wrong? Kevin, I need you to sit down. Your mom is here at my apartment. She's okay physically, but something's happened and she needs to talk to you. My mom is where? He was fully awake now. What the hell is going on? Is Dad okay? Your dad is fine. But your mom is here, and she has something she needs to tell you. I'm going to put her on speaker. I held the phone out too. Mrs. Morrison, she took a shaky breath and began to speak. What followed was one of the most painful conversations I'd ever witnessed. Mrs. Morrison, still drunk but trying to speak clearly, confessed everything to her son. The gambling, the addiction, the stolen money, the lies, the $370,000 that was gone forever. Kevin's reaction went from confusion to disbelief to anger to devastation. He yelled. He cried. He asked questions she couldn't answer. He said things I knew he'd regret later, but that he needed to say in the moment, and through it all. I sat there helplessly, watching my best friend's world crumble over a phone call. Finally, after almost an hour, Kevin's voice went quiet. "Mom, you need to go to rehab tonight, right now. I need you to promise me you'll get help." "I will," she whispered. "I promise, Kevin, I promise." "And Tyler," Kevin said, his voice rough with emotion. "Thank you for being there. Thank you for making her tell me. Can you make sure she gets home safe or to Dad?" "I don't want her driving, of course," I said. "I'll take care of it." After we hung up, I called Mr. Morrison. He was cold, curt, but agreed to come pick up his wife. While we waited, Mrs. Morrison sobbed quietly on my couch. I made her coffee and tried to help her sober up a little. "I'm sorry I came here," she said eventually. "I shouldn't have put this on you. You needed help," I said. "And you couldn't face them alone." "I get it. Do you hate me now? For what I did to Kevin?" I thought about it carefully. "I don't hate you, but I'm angry at what you did, and I'm heartbroken for Kevin and Mr. Morrison. What you did was terrible. But I also know addiction is a disease. You need treatment." Double quotes. Mr. Morrison arrived 20 minutes later. He didn't come up, just texted that he was outside. I helped Mrs. Morrison to the elevator and down to the parking lot. Mr. Morrison's expression when he saw her was devastating, a mixture of anger, betrayal, and deep sadness. "Thank you for calling me," he said to me stiffly. "And for not letting her drive. She needs help, Mr. Morrison. Real, professional help, I know." His voice cracked slightly. "I've already called a treatment facility. She's going tomorrow morning." I watched them drive away, then went back to my apartment and collapsed on my couch. It was after 1 a.m. I called in sick to work the next day. There was no way I could function after what had just happened. Kevin called me the next morning. We talked for 3 hours. He was devastated, furious, betrayed. The trust fund his grandmother had left him represented not just money, but her love, her belief in his future. And his mother had stolen it to feed an addiction. Mrs. Morrison did go to rehab. She spent 60 days in an intensive gambling addiction treatment program. When she got out, she joined Gamblers Anonymous and started seeing a therapist twice a week. The family survived, but barely. Mr. Morrison stayed with her, but their relationship was fundamentally changed. Kevin forgave her eventually, but it took years. And their relationship never fully returned to what it had been. As for me, that night changed how I viewed everything. Mrs. Morrison, someone I trusted implicitly, someone I'd seen as the epitome of stability, had been hiding a devastating secret. It taught me that addiction doesn't discriminate, that it can affect anyone, and that people we think we know completely can be fighting invisible battles. The image of her in my doorway that night, drunk and desperate, still haunts me. Not because of anything inappropriate or scandalous, but because it was the moment I realized that adults, even the ones who seem to have it all together, can be just as lost and broken as anyone else. My best friend's mom did show up at my apartment drunk, but it wasn't a scandal or an inappropriate advance. It was a cry for help from someone whose life had spiraled completely out of control. Someone who was so ashamed and desperate that she couldn't face her own family. Sometimes the truth is more painful than any scandal could be. And sometimes being there for someone means making them face the hardest truth of their life, even when they're begging you not to. That's what happened that night. Not a scandal, but a tragedy. And a reminder that addiction can destroy families in ways that have nothing to do with the stereotypes we imagine.